We're good? Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jennifer Karen. I'm one of the ROSC coordinators for Macoupin and Montgomery County. Thank you for attending our June ROSC meeting. I, along with my partner Brian Polo, are facilitating this meeting. Like I said, we're both Macoupin Montgomery County ROSC coordinators, along with our Chief Executive Director, Kent Taro, and our Project Director, Becky Hatley. You want to go ahead and switch? I kind of already introduced everyone of our leader team. Switch slides, please. Can everyone online hear us? Just to get it indicated. Okay, thank you. To the next slide, just highlights our agenda, which you guys have most of you have received in your emails. If you are not getting our emails, please let me know so I can add you to our email list. That way you are sure where our meetings are located and what is happening at our meetings. As the next process goes, we're going to do introductions and announcements. I already introduced myself and my partner Brian and our leadership team. There are microphones here around the table here. Unfortunately, our people online are not going to be able to get to see everyone who's at the tables. But if we could just do a short announcement and introduction for each person here. Those microphones should catch your voice if you want to.
My name is Eric Fletcher from the intern for SIU, CRSS, CPRS, crossover administrators with lived experience.
Go ahead.
Steve Bryant, Executive Director, Litchfield Park District.
Kristen Smith, Executive Director of Julie Coleman and Chestnut Health Systems, and I'm July 1st officially start with the statewide ROSC Region 4. I'm Danielle Vincent. This year, I guess.
I'm Dawn Young. I'm a nurse practitioner with Springfield Clinic. I'm also Secretary of Crossover.
I'm Chris James, my name is Scott James. I'm also a student in New York. I live alongside with members and I'm Carissa. I'm faculty at St. University. Evaluation, but also
John Magnuson, President of Litchfield Ministerial Alliance, 708 board member, and a few other things as well.
Amy Schoen, recovery coordinator from Macoupin and Montgomery counties.
Lindsay Meyer, Recovery Care Coordinator from Macoupin and Montgomery counties.
Linda Leapshire with Crossover Ministries.
Kevin Jack, Director of Montgomery County Emergency Management.
Chad Swearingen with Lindenburg Health Center.
David Jamola, Administrator of Parks United.
All right, that's everyone in person. I don't know if Brian, you want to announce who's online?
Yes, I can. So our friend Janelle Robinson, our good friend, and Amanda Ross.
Orville Mercer, Chestnut Health Systems.
Thank you.
We have a Dunaway on his way down here. Our friend Carrie Lane, who is college, the VA representative there. Crystal, our graduate student. Our friend Craig Crystal, probation. And the 317-854-314. Would that be right?
That might be Kent. Okay, well, thank you everyone for attending. I think we had discussed maybe at future meetings that we might just do short announcements. If you've never attended before, we might introduce you and make a short announcement to ease up our time for our announcement and introduction stages. So everyone who did get the email for the ROSC, you should have seen your May minutes in with your email. Did everyone get the chance to review those? If you did, can I get a motion to approve those minutes? Okay, I got one. Can I get a second? Okay, and all in favor? All right, thank you. Those motion minutes are approved. I printed out the slideshow, so actually I skipped a slide in there, so we're going to go ahead and go to the announcement slide. So I have a few announcements. I did have in here that the secondhand trauma training is on Wednesday, June 29th from Crossover Ministries, but that has been canceled. So they are going to set that up. They have another one coming up on July 27th in Litchfield. So if anybody is wanting to attend that, they can sign up for that in advance, and I can get you that link or like send you to Crossover Ministries to sign up for that event. We do have listed also Metro East Narcotics Anonymous Up the Creek float trip is July 29th and August 3rd, or through August 3rd. Local churches here in Litchfield are holding a back to school bash, which is August 6th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Litchfield Community Center. There are Al-Anon meetings every Thursday at 6:30 p.m. at Crossover Ministries in Hillsborough. They also are hosting a winter circle meeting every Friday at 6 p.m. at Crossover Ministries. There is an Emotions Anonymous meeting every Thursday from 6 to 7 at Beacon Church. Also, we have the Phoenix Center is hosting a focus group on bringing LGBTQ services for the community on August 8th at 205 Oakland Avenue in Carlinville. Any questions on that? I can direct those to Lindsay Miner and Elise Schoen, who are heading that focus group. We also have some webinars that are listed in your emails that we will be sending you the links for. So if you would like to attend those, they are free. So next up, we do have updates for our safe passage. And I spoke to the girls. Are you guys wanting to come up and talk, or you just want me to?
It's a long walk.
I think for announcements, for sure, we just want to let you know that you're probably going to see our faces even more out in the community. Surprise! More harm reduction, getting Narcan out there, letting people know of our services. We've talked about even just setting a booth up in town somewhere, just saying, you know, come get Narcan if you need it, or if someone you love needs it, we're going to get it out there.
As far as our safe passage numbers, it was 26 people we have served through Macoupin and Montgomery County. Thank you, Jen. And 85% of those people have followed through with treatment, which is an amazing number. I am reading that correctly. Oh, that's our access points. I was reading that correctly. So it is 85%. I just wanted to make sure. Other than that, we did set up at the Macoupin County Fair to distribute Narcan and some of our yard signs and just to talk to people about the services we provide. And we participated in the Pride Parade in Springfield for Pride Month. Can you think of any other updates that we have?
Just today, we've decided that we're probably going to reach out to attorneys that maybe work within the Macoupin and Montgomery counties so that we can get out and let them know of our services. So that way they can link anybody that might be in jail for a substance related crime, that we can get in there and let them know that we have something to offer if they get out. Now, I know they are linked with Gateway. We don't want to step on Gateway's toes. What we're saying is if they can't get in right away with Gateway, that maybe we'd be another option.
So we're just out there hitting the pavement. Our program seems to be running pretty smoothly and very much needed. I'll give you that back. Thanks.
All right, thank you, ladies. If you want to go to the outreach and awareness slide, so we kind of added some pictures. If you can see in your outlines that they did attend the Pride Parade. We had a Macoupin County Fair table where they had passed out Narcan like they had said. We also had some of our graduate students attended and I guess hosted an event at the Beneld Library. It was a summer fun program. They worked on balanced eating, moving your body, and healthy minds for the kids in the Beneld area. So those are exciting things that we're doing out in our community. Just the other quick little things. If you guys do have any announcements that you want to share, please email them to Brian or myself so we can add those into our monthly meetings. I also wanted to shout out a thank you to John and the Beacon Church for letting us host our meeting here today. And then I'm going to intro into our main speaker today, Miss Linda Leapshire from Crossover Ministries, and she's going to do a presentation for us on the living room.
Thank you. And there are two other people here that know a lot about the living room as well. So that is Dawn and Erica, and I am encouraging them to speak up too.
But if you could come up here so everyone online can see you. Sorry. Make you move everything.
Okay, this is way too small a podium. No. Thank you. Okay, so how many of you have heard about a living room? Okay, and there are many living rooms throughout Illinois and throughout other states as well. One of the things about our concept of the living room is to have it a 365, 24/7 living room. So first I want to introduce Crossover Ministries a little bit to you. And we just recently had a vision change voted on by the board. And that was because a lot of people were seeing that we supported people with mental health challenges, and they did not know that we also support the recovery process of those with substance use disorders. We consider that recovery to be one individual at a time, as well as all of you do. But our vision and mission are as much about preventative as it is crisis. Actually, a living room itself is a preventative way to help people so that if there is a crisis or something that they consider a crisis, or maybe not so much on a crisis, they can come there, get the help that they need, and then it will prevent further things from happening, especially getting involved with the judicial system or things like that. You know what? It just proves with all of you here that Montgomery County has really advanced in our mental health resources. If you think about a year and a half ago, where were we? And now look at what we've got. We've got Montgomery County Mental Health. We've got St. Francis Way Clinic. We've got Celebrate Recovery. We've got Crossover Ministries. We've got CRSSs and recovery support peers in our area, which are very vital and necessary to the wellness and recovery of people. But one thing we do not have, and one thing that I'm focusing on that we do not have, is that short-term or long-term overnight recovery. It is not within our county right now. And unfortunately, people are falling through the cracks because a lot of our services are offered during the day. And we know we all want to increase that opportunity, but it isn't there yet. In 2021, we had 5 suicides and 12 overdoses, lost 17 people. So far in 2022, we've had 3 suicides and as of May, 2 overdoses. So I do not know if that number has gone up. I pray not. It's still far too many people that we are losing. So I want to share the vision of a living room with you from a living room that is in, where did I? Yes, thank you. Where am I hitting it?
No, you just tell them.
Oh, I tell the people back there. Do I have to pay the people back there? Okay, good, because I didn't bring any money, but yeah. All right, next. No, I'm sorry. Go back. Thank you. So this home right here is located in Framingham, Massachusetts, right? It's been in existence for over 10 years. It is what you consider a full living room, meaning 365, 24/7, all peer led, meaning they are the directors of the board, and it is peer sourced, meaning the people that work there all have lived experience as well. Framingham has about 72,000 people. And so it is a lot larger even than our county is. And yet they have just really come to understand and know that this type of resource for recovery and support, which is non-clinical, has absolutely helped people in their recovery and wellness process. People at a living room are guests, all right? So it sets the tone. And when you consider a guest in your home, you make sure that you have what the people need who are coming to visit. And we are all about support, choices, and access with a communication connection, which means that if someone came to the living room and what their initial need was food, that's what will be there for them. If their initial need was to find out what the support resources were in our area, that's where a peer support would help them find those resources as well. So living rooms are always peer led, meaning that the person who is the guest at the living room makes the choice and decisions on their own recovery plan. A lot like what's happening with our resources out here right now. I want to share some comments with you from the guests who are at the living room in Massachusetts. It felt safe to go, they said, before I got lost in my pain so that a small situation did not become a crisis. Also, after several hours at an ER, this one person said they'd start to feel better, but that the hospital almost became like a trap instead of a recovery process for them. They expressed that they were having suicidal thoughts. And from that point on, then, unfortunately, that is how it was treated rather than, hey, 7 hours here, I'm feeling better. Maybe I can go back out into the community, maybe to a living room, maybe to St. Francis Way Clinic, Montgomery County Mental Health, whatever. And then it's a next step, they said, towards creating their own life worth living as I define it, not as someone else defines it for me. So we'll go on to the next slide. Everything about the living room is trauma focused. That's why it's so important for our community to understand what trauma is. I know a lot of you have been through trauma training already, but trauma training has increased its perspective on what it does to the brain, as well as how the brain can heal itself. And so Crossover Ministries will be having several trauma-focused training opportunities throughout the year. And we'd encourage anyone in the community. As a matter of fact, we will have some that will be unique, like for our nurses and for our pastors, but we will have community ones as well. Right now, we are working with Kevin and Sheriff Robbins to invite our first responders and our police to trauma-focused training. In July, the 988 starts, and we have crisis teams that will be going out there who themselves are trained in trauma-focused ways of offering that support that is needed. But the more this community becomes a trauma community, the more we're going to be able to prevent a lot of the overdoses and the suicides. So we will be inviting you to join us at those trainings. And those trainings will be done by Trenda Hedges. She is the manager of the call center in Illinois, and very much herself has experience in trauma, both herself and on the other side of it. So the people, the reason that our mission and our vision changed a little bit is because, and all of you know this, what percent of people have dual diagnosis? Okay. Yeah. And so the living room isn't just a mental health opportunity, it's a substance use opportunity as well. Because that question, the chicken or the egg, you figure it out, but it is happening with people. And a lot of times dual diagnosis is what will be supported in the living room. You can go on and you could read these yourself, but the next slide, again, I've talked about the voluntary opportunity for people who visit the living room. There will be no police bringing people there. There will be recommendations made and suggestions made from people within this room, but it is also their choice as to whether they come to the living room. And one of the great things is we've got partners that we're already collaborating with, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that. But the clinical aspect of treatment is vital. It isn't that the living room eliminates that, it's that the living room partners with those who offer that clinical in order for us to make recommendations towards that. When, again, the guest says, that's the route I need to take. That's the way that I need to go. So what is the average time of seeing a mental health counselor in Montgomery County? Pardon? 3 weeks. Okay. What happens in 3 weeks with someone with a mental health condition or someone with a substance use disorder? And John has brought this up frequently. There's that moment, like with safe passages, there's that moment when someone says, here I am, I'm willing, get me the help. Passing up that moment and 3 weeks out is a lot of passing up for people. That's where the living room can come in and provide that respite for several days, 365, 24/7, and then keep those people focused on the fact that they at first maybe came there wanting that recovery, getting them involved in what that recovery looks like to them, and then getting them into the resources that are needed, whatever those resources are. So, and I'm not sure the wait time on seeing one of our psychiatrists in the area. That may be even longer. I do not know. But again, those are supports that will be needed for some of the people who go to the living room. Did you realize that Montgomery County Jail, 25% of the people who are in there at any one given time have a mental health disorder? That is something that's been stated by Sheriff Robbins over and over. That's why Montgomery County Mental Health got the jail got a padded cell, because we have people in there who should not be in there. And we know that. We all know that. And that's why Montgomery County is working on mental health courts too. But, and we'll go to the next slide. Okay. The advocates guest data for 2 years, 10,000 interactions with guests. All right. Now understand that they also have a warm line. 24/7 warm line. So those interactions include that warm line. But each guest had about 13 separate visits. So I find that pretty good, you know, that they keep coming back to a living room for that support they need. And also, I found this amazing, 90 minutes length of stay. What does that say to you? Someone's going to a living room because they have a need, whether it's mental health, substance use, or emotional distress. And in 90 minutes, in 90 minutes, they received what they needed at that time. Now, more needs may come up and hence the 13 separate visits going on. But I find that amazing and really inspiring that people are getting the help they need and seeing that 90 minutes relieves some of that stress, relieves some of that challenge that they're facing. And then 97% of the guests in this particular living room highly recommend it. I want you to know too, that there's an interchangeable word with living room. It's called a respite home. It is a little bit different, but it has the same makeup as a living room would have and would afford. So throughout the United States, there's approximately 400 to 450 living room / respite homes right now. In our area, there are living rooms, I think clinically like a hybrid living room where it's inside of a, let's say a St. Francis Way clinic or a behavioral health, and it's there to support people and they do an excellent job. What again, we are seeing is people who need it at different times rather than the hours that we are open. So any guess on how much it costs annually for a living room? I have 10 living rooms listed about a case study here, and they range from $16,000 a year, which means that everybody that works there is voluntary, which is not going to happen. All right. Or in New Hampshire, $353,000 with the amount of days they can stay up to 7, and peer staffed and number of guests only 2. That's pretty high, but I don't know what New Hampshire going rate is for people who would work at the living room. Our estimation for Montgomery County would be between $250,000 and $300,000 a year. Okay, a lot of money, isn't it? Are you all just saying you're going to dig in your pockets and just look for that extra change to help support it? We appreciate that. But one of the things that we would like to do, and next slide, please. Have you ever heard of the Montgomery County Cancer Association? Okay, how much money did they raise this year? $247,000, okay? Some of that doesn't stay in our county, does it? A lot of it goes to other hospitals for training and treatment, which is just fine. That's the way that Montgomery County Cancer Association has chosen to operate. If there can be a Montgomery County Cancer Association that can raise that much money, tell me, why can't there be a Montgomery County Living Room Association that can raise that much money? Now, I'm not saying that all of that money would be what it would take to support it. Of course, there'd have to be grants. There'd have to be individual funding. There'd have to be endowments as well. But this is a very robust voluntary county. People volunteer for a whole bunch of things and help out. I think one of the challenges that we face as a community that believes in recovery and wellness is reducing that stigma that so impacts people getting involved in the first place. And I think some of the trainings that are being offered and some of the trainings that will take place will help to do that. So you can go to the next slide. This is Montgomery County Cancer Association's vision and mission. And what I just want you to understand is in each one of those where it says cancer, if you would replace it with mental health and substance use, you would have the Living Room Association. And that is what we'd like to see in Montgomery County. How that's going to work out, we're not quite sure yet, but I will give you some updates in just a minute. And so you can see that they're promoting this is the same, and next slide, please, as what we would promote, a nonprofit within a nonprofit. So one other thing that we see is really helping to get other counties in Illinois and our country on the bandwagon of having these 365, 24/7 respite homes / living rooms. So with all of your support and help and prayers, we see that this can be done. It's going to take a lot of work though. And when we gave these, we had the opportunity to go before city boards and the Montgomery County Board, and we will continue to go before the boards to get the leadership buy-in. We were asking them to just do one thing, not to say this can't be done, but to say, how can this be done? Because we need that buy-in. So I want to update you on a few things. And next slide. What's that a picture of? Are you in that picture? Huh? Are you in that picture, Jennifer? Way back there. You know what time in the morning this was? Okay. Well, from 2:30 on, people lined up to get involved in the Montgomery County Cancer Association. This was in the Journal. They lined up. We need people to line up. And how we do that is by being the influencers of it, the people that are in this room. So I want to invite Dawn just to talk briefly about her experience with a living room. And then I'm going to share with you about some stakeholder meetings that we're having and that we will continue to have.
Hello. I just wanted to let you know, and I told this story at the Montgomery County board meeting when we were talking to them about the living room, about my own personal experience with dealing with someone in a mental health crisis. And I had a family member earlier this year, early April, that was in a real crisis. And she went to seek medical attention at 2 emergency rooms up in Springfield at both hospitals, was declined admission and was given a safety plan, but at that time, she was in no state of mind to even comprehend what was going on. I got involved because she trusted me. And basically, she ended up wandering the streets in Springfield for 3 to 5 days because there was no help available. By the time I got involved with her, I noticed that I was going to take her back to St. John's Hospital. And about a block away, they had a living room. Imagine that. And so I told her, we need to go there. She was not comfortable going back to the emergency room. And so we went there. It wasn't a 24/7, 365. It was only open certain hours. And I knew like my time was limited because it was getting to the end of the day. And again, like Linda said, you know, when you're in a mental health crisis, there's no time, you know, it doesn't happen 8 to 5. Okay. So I got her there, and during that time that she was in there, her whole demeanor just changed. Her anxiety level came down. She had people there, you know, offering her something to drink, you know, a very comfortable place to sit. There was just things to do, trying to get her the help that she needed going forward. So I've seen firsthand what this can do for someone in a crisis. And I'm thankful that I was able to get her the help that she needed. But I'm just saying, you know, I fully believe that this is well needed in Montgomery County, and is something that would totally benefit our county. We have this way too often. The emergency rooms are being used way too often for things that the living room could take care of. So anyway, that's my story.
So some things that have happened really, really productive and good things is that we had our first stakeholders meeting on June the 13th at the Crossover Ministries. And we had representatives there from Macoupin, Montgomery County, St. Francis Way Clinic, Montgomery County Health Department, Mental Health Department, and Crossover Ministries. And what we discussed is ARPA funds. Are you familiar with the ARPA funds? Everybody? The tell me if I'm right, American Relief, American Rescue Plan A, I don't know. Okay, so what we found out is that in the very beginning of these funds, first of all, every county, I believe in the United States got some, right? Montgomery County got 5 million, all right? They've already distributed to Hillsborough and to Litchfield and to all the cities according to what the needs were and the sizes. So if I'm wrong about anything, please speak up. And so they've got this money left and it has to be distributed by 2024 is the deadline. The ARPA funds, according to Donna Yeski, who's on the Montgomery County Board, are actually grants that will be given. They came federally down. They will be grants that will be given. And at this particular point, there really isn't any oversight over these funds that will be happening. Because here's what happened with our federal government. At first, they had real strict rules. This has to be met. This has to be done. Here's how you can use them here. And the money just sat in counties and nothing was being distributed. So they have very, very much laxed how these funds can be used. And they have very, very much laxed the oversight of it because it won't be the federal government overseeing them. And Montgomery County Board has said they do not want to have the oversight of these funds. So a grant given without oversight sounds pretty good to me. And Hugh Satterley, Montgomery County Health, has gone before the Montgomery County Board because he has to go to every one of those single wonderful meetings. He calls them wonderful meetings, if you believe that. And so every single time he has raised his hand with the Finance Committee and said, put aside $700,000 for mental health, because here's what we want to do. We need something 24/7, 365. So putting that bug in their ear on a regular basis may bug them enough to say, here's your money, get out of here. Don't know. But what we are doing in the meeting, we are looking at what a living room would look like with the clinical support that it needs and the way that living rooms were original ideas of a living room, which is peer run, peer led. We had our first meeting on the 13th. We're having our second meeting this Thursday on June 30th at 5 o'clock at COM. Would love for anybody here to join us and to hear what route we're taking, which way we're going. But we've been researching this for 3 years now. And what we have discovered is huge amounts of evidence and research for the respite home living room. We handed out at our last meeting a whole manual on hospital diversion services. So it doesn't just say how good it is, it says, are you ready for it? What do you need? Who's your audience? Here's the opportunity for a form to be filled out that says, hi, welcome to the living room. Here's the opportunity for a form to be filled out that says what you can expect and what are your expectations of us. Almost everything you need. Outside of that, I don't know if you've ever heard of the National Empowerment Center, power2u.org. They have evidence for peer-run crisis alternatives. And it lists every living room and every peer respite home throughout the state, which we will use the information from to get a hold of people who are already doing it, been there, done that, and find out from them in Zoom conversations, here's what Montgomery County needs, here's what we want from you as those people who will give us that information. On top of that, we have a 272-page peer respite handbook, who takes you from the beginning to the continuation of opening a peer respite living room. What I really like about this is these people are so honest. They said, here's what we did wrong. Don't do this. Don't go there. Here's what we did right. Here are some alternatives to the way that we do it. So, and that's not even half of the information that we found. We have connected with some people who did the writings of a lot of these and are asking for more information too. So we're in a starter position. We're in a place where we want to get going, and we'd love for anyone to get going with us. The evidence is overwhelmingly in support of these type of opportunities. And not only that, but because we are privileged to have interns, and we'll be privileged again to employ some CRSSs in the very near future, they will definitely be board members. They will definitely be the ones who say, I don't care what that research shows. This is what my experience was or is, and this is what is needed. So we're very grateful for that. Our beginning task after we've sorted things out is that wonderful white paper. Kevin, you know how long that takes to write, right? And that will be, so we don't just walk in and say, hi, Montgomery County, give us the money because we love people with mental health and substance use. There's got to be some facts behind it. There's got to be a way that says, this is how it's going to be sustained. There's got to be a way that says, this is how it has helped people who have living rooms in their community, and anything else that will be necessary for that white paper. I'm going to stop right now and see if there's any questions. June 30th. June 30th is Thursday at 5 p.m. at Crossover Ministries. Yeah.
Anybody online? Have a question for them?
Linda, would
Yeah.
that just be for Montgomery County residents then?
Yes, to
Okay.
start.
Okay.
Yes, it would, because that's where the funding will come from. We want to respect that. Yeah. Also, you know, we're looking for information from Safe Passage. That information is how long were there people, all 25 people got in right away to their, where they needed to go for treatment? If not, how many days did it take for them to get there? Because then we know, aha, here's someone who can be referred to that living room. We also have heard already from the crisis intervention teams that are up and running from Montgomery County Mental Health that about 30% of the people that they've already visited with would be great at the living room. You know, so we're trying to get these numbers together that says, maybe this wasn't so much of a crisis as it was, or they refused the help and treatment because they didn't want to go anywhere else, you know. So those are some of the things, and I think I emailed you guys on that already. And the ER. We're trying to get information from the ER on how many are still presenting at our emergency departments in Montgomery County for mental health and substance use disorders. We need those, we need that information. I don't know if they're willing to give it, but we'd love to have that info. And any other thing that you can think of that we need to be focusing on. So,
Any more questions?
Well, I think you actually talking about friendly study, but two things that are definitely best practices that would be great to have. I don't know if you've done that way or not. The warm line.
yes.
And SSM started something with the Paul Hospital. Urgent care. Urgent medical care clinic. It sounds like they would do it. We only spend 90 minutes and got through some things that really is what it's all about. right things to do are, and love right things. And I applaud you. Let me ask you, are you still, you're not going to take?
Correct. Yeah. But, and I don't, that's,
Nope.
I'll talk as I walk. What we have been able to do is to get some funding, like, for example, for a strengthening families program, the grant was federally funded, but it filtered through Hillsborough Area Hospital, and they filtered it to us. So therefore, there is a way for these ARPA funds to filter as well. But, and it is just, it is the way that our advisory council and that the Lord has shown us to go with no government funding. So, okay.
Just so everyone, reminding everyone, her meeting will be on the 30th, on Thursday at 5 o'clock at Crossover Ministries in Hillsborough. If you have any additional questions, you can take them there or email Brian or I, and we can follow up with Linda with those answers to those questions. Next on the agenda, we have John Magnuson presenting for about 5 minutes or so on his project that he's working on. And then I believe we have Mr. Taro is going to have an announcement as well. And then we will get to our moment of wellness. So stay tuned.
All right. I'm probably going to speak a little bit more at the next meeting, so I will keep this short. I want to present the problem. Most people that leave a rehabilitation clinic or a care facility or program do not have access to a community or a network of people once they leave. We all hear stories that, you know, once you're done with the program, you're very welcome to come back and talk to us. But most of the time they're sent back to their own communities, which aren't the healthiest places for them to be. Over the past 2 years, I've kind of been, you know, thinking, what is a good actionable point that we could take? The reality is that through these meetings and through different connections I've been able to make, I think that we already have access to a pretty substantive network. And my idea is to say, hey, listen, what does it look like for a network of people to help people move successfully into the next chapter of their story, right? This is why you all do what you do. It's not for the paycheck, it's because you want to help people change their stories in some way, shape, or form. So the question becomes, okay, well, where do we start? We've got 30 or 40 people that are a member of this ROSC. We have different sectors, different skill sets. Where do we start? We all want to change stories. Where do we start if it focuses on mental health and addiction? And the area that I kind of landed on was, why not try to partner with Macoupin and Montgomery County drug courts? The drug courts that have been presented are very much kind of like a boot camp, okay? They're people that are facing felony charges, and they've been offered an alternative to change their story. They have to work the program or they're not allowed to stay a part of the program. So I had this idea, what would it look like for a network of people to be introduced, not the late stages of the program, but what it would look like to partner with these programs and to be able to interact with a willing participant to say, hey, listen, what do you think the biggest obstacle to you being successful in the next chapter of your story is? Is it housing? Is it some form of job placement? Is it transportation? Are there some mental health needs that are not being taken care of or addressed? And what the next network would be able to do is to be able to connect that participant from a drug court to the person that best helps them remove or overcome that obstacle from being successful in the next chapter of their story. I've had conversations with both Macoupin and Montgomery drug courts, and they are very much on board with this idea. Very much on board with us saying, hey, listen, we know in some respects you're kind of limited as not only a county, but as a court to what you can do or how you can do it. Why not give you access to 40 or 60 or 80 more people that have expertise in all of these different sectors, in all of these different areas that can help your participants be successful? Now that's a starting point. Obviously, it doesn't end there. Obviously, it expands to different sectors once, kind of like Linda, once we've developed good muscle memory, once we've developed good workflow, and once we have established best practices. So I look forward to kind of talking to you more about that. Are there any thoughts or questions about that? I know it's brief, but everybody I talk to, the main reason why this is successful has a great opportunity is I'm not asking the drug courts to change what they do, and I'm not asking people to be something they're not. I'm asking the lawyer to help somebody just look at their case. I'm asking the person that's really good, that owns 2 restaurants, I'm just asking them, hey, listen, would you be willing to partner with us to be a recovery and felony-friendly workplace? I'm just asking somebody who's a healthcare professional to say, hey, listen, would you be willing just to talk to this person for 10 minutes? And most people would say yes to that. Any initial questions whatsoever? We're going to, I think, dive deeper next month. But anything right off the bat?
Right, of course, over half of the unemployed men under 30 have had involvement in the criminal justice system.
Yeah, and it's different for me. The reason I like that access point is because the program already exists. People that are in the program choose to be, okay, otherwise they don't make it. And what that does is it allows us not to just spend all of our resources just wildly hoping that we find somebody randomly. So if we can connect with people to say, hey, listen, you want to change your story, you're showing us. And by the way, that doesn't mean we limit it to that. I'm just talking about a starting point, okay? And success is different for every story. It doesn't mean that it has to look the same. So any other thoughts or ideas? I have 30 seconds. Okay, I'll be available afterwards. I'd love to hear ideas that you have.
Also, if you don't have time to stick around, or if you're online and you have questions, you can direct those questions to Brian or I, and we will follow up with John with those questions as well. Mr. Taro, did you want to address the committee? Yep. And then next will be our moment of wellness with Erica Petcher.
Very quickly, I've been very transparent with what we're trying to do through the St. Francis Way Clinic and of course Columbian Boulevard Dental Clinic. And as you know, we're here in Montgomery County because we're also a federally qualified health center. And that organization is organized under 501c3 called Macoupin Community Health Centers, Inc. Under Macoupin Community Mental Health Centers, Inc. I've been very open about this. You know, I'm very big on being real public about what we're doing. Sometimes it's hard on me, but that's why we're called public health department. We are putting in an application to the 708 board for Montgomery County for 2 vehicles and 2 drivers that do nothing but work with making sure that people get to the services they need for mental health, substance use, medical, et cetera, et cetera. And is very much missing. I can't come in from Macoupin County Public Transportation unless I'm either starting in Macoupin to bring somebody to the St. Francis complex or taking somebody from St. Francis complex to Maple Street. So I can't take somebody in Montgomery to somewhere else in Montgomery. So this is why I'm limited with the way we are. This is something we've had in mind for quite some time. And I guess I will be presenting to the 708 board that idea. We think it's extremely important. A lot of people miss their appointments because they really have no way of getting there. And sometimes things come up where they have to get somewhere pretty quick. I got to be honest with you, I'm a federally funded and certified public transportation program. Even if I had the formal program in Montgomery, there's rules like you got to give us 24 hours notice. We're scheduled by the Medicaid people. They just throw it at us. We have to accept or reject, and then they get on us if we reject. So there's no fluidity to it. So forget that. That's the direction we'd like to go to help, and we know how important it is. There is a public transportation program in the county, but we have more vehicles for Macoupin County than they have for the 6 or 7 counties they serve. Central Illinois Public Transit. So please don't cuss them too much. I know people in various medical communities say getting a ride for one of your people to their facility is like winning the lottery. They just don't have a whole lot of resources. So that's one thing we want to do. The other thing we want to do is expand. We do medication assisted treatment. Actually, I have 4 places I do it: Maple Street in Gillespie, Morgan Street in Carlinville, the Health and Wellness Center in Gillespie, St. Francis Way Clinic in Litchfield here. We also provide individual and group therapy, et cetera. We have an opportunity to go after expanding medication assisted treatment, both with medical community that doesn't do it now in Macoupin and Montgomery. But again, being very transparent, Christian County wants our help. And we may very well likely go after working with them to develop that in their communities too. Taylorville in particular, Pana Hospital and Taylorville Memorial. The last time we wrote for funds and I needed statistics from those 2 hospitals, they were all about it. They got their materials to us before my 4 hospitals in Macoupin and Montgomery. So I'm very willing to work with them. And actually they said, hey, when can we meet and start to work together? Well, I just can't quite move that fast. So I might need your support in putting that together. And if anybody has any other inklings about people in the medical community, we're getting closer to working with medication assisted treatment intervention in the hospitals, but we're not there yet. One of the problems we have is I'm not dealing with the hospitals. I'm dealing with contract companies that are coming in from somewhere else to run those emergency departments. So it gives me another layer of bureaucracy to go through, even if the hospital loves the idea. So I might ask for your support or the collaborating agreements again. Now this one's unusual. It's actually the Federal Office of Rural Health Policy. That's where we've been funded before. That's the only reason I have St. Francis Way Clinic. And they want us to concentrate on not only opioid addiction, but I've agreed with this forever. We have to concentrate on alcohol use disorder, which actually dwarfs everything else all put together. It's just a slow killer and not as apparent as the things that kill you fast. So anyway, they do want us to make sure we have partners that include a pharmacy that would be in Christian County, as well as the correctional centers. But I know that we're going to probably ask you for your support as well. So those are the things I wanted to make sure you knew.
All right, again, if anyone has any follow-up for that, let Brian and I know. We can follow with Mr. Taro if you want to be involved in any of that. Now I'm going to introduce Erica Petcher. She's with Crossover Ministries, and she has a presentation on county mapping. So she's going to go ahead and present that.
My name is Erica Petcher. I am a person in long-term recovery. I struggle with substance use disorder, anxiety, and depression, along with PTSD. While I've been at school at SIUE, we did some community mapping. This map right here is not every single pin on it has a location, whether all the green pins are safe passage locations. All the yellow tabs are all meetings in this community. This cluster of stuff right here is the Pregnancy Resource Center, the Montgomery County Jail, Crossover Ministries. All the resources that I know of in this county are here.
Thank you.
There's not too much in the county from Wagner, Farmersville upward. There's a lot of things going on in Hillsborough right now. There's a lot of things going on in Litchfield. Other than that, up here, Wagner, Farmersville, Harville here. There used to be a meeting, I know, in Raymond. I'm not sure if it still exists anymore. But this is just like a start I'm a visual person. It's a lot easier for me to look at a map and be like, well, this needs to happen here. Something needs to happen here. I don't know what it is, but something. This is where I'm from. My kids are here. The drugs are horrendous here. You know, I got clean, not by any of these resources. I went to jail for 208 days on a $100,000 bond for a criminal misdemeanor. I did the drug court program. I was only successful in the drug court program because I got sober right here. Fillmore, nothing, no one. I stayed at home, gardened with my dad, hung out with my sister and her kids, had limited contact with Hillsborough, limited contact with Litchfield. I was born and raised in Hillsborough. I got clean in Montgomery County. Not because of any of this stuff. None of it. I didn't do outreach because I couldn't come to St. Francis Way. It didn't exist. Safe Passage wasn't a thing when I got clean. What I needed was help now, not in 3 days, not in 2 weeks, now. If I would have came to St. Francis Way and you told me, well, you can see somebody now, but in 3 days, we might be able to get you into bed. By 2 o'clock that day, I was dope sick. I was ready to get high, and you missed your moment with me. I think a lot of that happens here. We missed the moment. So I graduate school on Wednesday, and I'm excited to help cross over in the Montgomery County court systems. Help get these people help right now, not tomorrow or the next day, even if it's just listening to somebody. I want to thank Danielle. I don't know where she went. She helped me finish this last night. I've been working on it for 2 weeks. I just put the concept out there. I called Kevin. He told me where to go get the map. Ran it by a couple of people, and you know, I'm grateful for what I do have now. I'm grateful for the people that support me and people from this community. Thank you.
All right, everyone, that is the end of our meeting. Our next meeting will be July 25th. It will also be at the Beacon Church, so that will be highlighted in your emails as well. If you did not sign up today, please sign the sign-in sheet so we have a roster of attendance for today, and to get those email addresses to send you information about next meeting. Our next meeting will be a transition into more of an action phase. So that'll be where you guys are going to take part in building the gaps. So that's going to be exciting. I'm excited for the next chapter. So please stay tuned for the next meeting on July 25th. Any questions? Again, Brian and I, our emails are located in the ROSC email that you got. Or if you have any questions, you can ask anyone, and I'm sure anyone in this table will be able to answer the questions or forward someone who knows the answer. Thank you very much.
Thank you.